Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Not only is this is a beautiful, beautiful bookstore, and I'm glad it exists, but this is also sort of the realization of sort of a nerdy dream. This is like a nerdy dream come true, really. Can you hear me? I'm gonna move this up. So I'm really honored. I'm honored to get to read with Michael McPhee. He is one of my mentors, and it's just an honor to have so many people here. Dr. Stumpf, also one of my mentors for poetry, and Professor C, and it's great. I'm happy to be here. So I am going to read you a little bit from my young adult novel, The Rites and Wrongs of Janice Wills, and maybe I should tell you a little bit about it first. So The Rites and Wrongs of Janice Wills is about no, that's okay. So it's about a girl named Janice Wills, who is a teenage girl who lives in a small town, not unlike Shelby, North Carolina, called Melvin, North Carolina, and she fancies herself an anthropologist. How good of an anthropologist she actually is sort of to be determined, but it's sort of like her way of navigating the world of her small town, and she's kind of shy and she's kind of awkward, and she's never really been to one of the big high school parties before. So I'm going to read to you from a scene where she sort of sucks it up and decides to show up to the big high school party. I wasn't able to see the house from where I was in the tar dark, but I could easily follow the sounds of voices. Gravel crunched underfoot. The low, thumping bass of muffled hip-hop pounded toward me. The house, when I reached the bottom of the drive, appeared dark on the inside. It was a big, blank, parents-not-home house. I heard the sound of a fire crackling in the backyard. I walked around back, a huge bonfire, faces I recognized vaguely, girls with long, bare, heavily lotioned legs, sat on the laps of guys holding plastic cups. There was a cluster of people dancing, a keg, people milling everywhere, faces flickering in and out of the firelight, the rough laughter of guys kidding around, the coaxing yelps of girls. I was here on the edge of the scene. I couldn't turn back now. I thought of Ruth Benedict approaching the Pueblo people in New Mexico for the first time. I thought of Margaret Mead and the Dobu in New Guinea. I took a breath and prepared myself. Janice Wills, field anthropologist, about to enter the world of a true Melva High School bash. I found myself walking zombie trance-like over to where the plastic cups were being filled with warm beer. Dan Bleeker, the football player filling cups, was already wasted to the point of friendliness. He handed me a cup and smiled, slashing my shirt a little. Fact, I had never so much as tasted an alcoholic beverage. Not even Margot, this is her best friend, not even Margot knew this. Of course, I'd also, prior to this moment, never been to a true high school party. If some English class acquaintance ever asked me why I hadn't shown up to whatever big party, I'd try to play it all off like, oh, another party, boring. And beer, disgusting, over it. It somehow seemed much less dorky to have tried something and decided you weren't into it rather than to be babyishly consequence-averse and good-girlish. Similarly, whenever sex came up, I tried to imply that it was old news, that I'd had sex so many times already that I was simply bored with it by now. Sex, yawn factory, boredomsville. I believed in hiding my hopeless innocence behind scorn whenever possible. This, when I stopped to think about it, was essentially my life philosophy. I took the beer and sipped. Ah, my Margaret Mead self would have said to the native partygoer, your ritual beverage, thank you, how marvelous. But it was disgusting. I'd been right all along. Still, in the name of field research, I could endure this. I took another sip. I had no one to talk to without Margot at my side. There were a few lawn chairs scattered about, so I found a seat from which to watch everybody, a darkened spot of lawn with a good view of the bonfire. Missy Wheeler was there. She'd found another one of the junior class officers, an at-school friend of sorts. They were talking intensely about some graduation-related matter. Missy, of course, had carefully strategized by bringing a little box of apple juice that she'd then furtively poured into a plastic cup to make it look like beer. I knew because she'd explained this strategy to me once. She brandished the cup like a secret pass, proudly showing it off. Watching Missy, I took another gulp from my cup. It was warm and gross, but I didn't mind the new tingly feeling coming over me. I watched Tracy Oliver laugh nervously with some basketball player. Seeing her butt cleavage showing, I wondered if this was intentional. Did guys find butt cracks peeking over low-rise jeans seductive? Becky Stevenson started running around, loud and giddy by the fire. There seemed to be this weird pride in showing off how drunk you were becoming, I noted. "I'm so tipsy," Becky yelped right on cue, and then collapsed into giggles against Trevor Jones. I watched them laugh and grab each other playfully, the undercurrent of adolescent hormones obvious. I took a sip. I took another and another. Soon my cup was empty, and I was impressed with myself. I hadn't passed out. I hadn't gone crazy. I just felt peaceful and relaxed now. Since it was in the name of research, I figured I might as well get another cup. This time, the beer went down faster. I was used to it, the fermented taste, the not quite coldness of it. I was a highly skilled observer, the Jane Goodall of the teen species. I put my glasses back on better to observe. Missy had now found a small cluster of high achievers who still were semi-cool enough to go to parties. She was laughing with them, forcing it. I could tell by the way they gestured that they were thinking, this girl's trying too hard. I felt sorry for Missy, but not as sorry as I felt for myself. Soon I started to feel sleepily content, ready to chat with someone. I thought about walking over and inserting myself into Caroline Henderson's conversation. Maybe say hi to Kip Stevens, but I didn't want to look desperate like Missy. Instead, I sat on my Jane Goodall chair, documenting the things I'd seen so far in my little notebook. And so here are some of Janice's notes for her anthropology project. The notes. So number 1, 4 couples openly making out. The attractive couple made it look really romantic, like in French cinema, but the other 3 couples, slobbery and ugly, made me want to turn into a robot so I'd never feel human emotion again. Number 2, 2 breakups. Both times the girl was the one crying, mascara running thick and heavy down her blubbering face. Number 3, 2 girls and 1 guy vomiting in the bushes where they thought no one could see. Number 4, 1 guy getting his pants pulled down by the older members of the soccer team. He looked like he was fighting tears before he punched one of them. Number 5, 1 joint. Number 6, 23 cigarettes being smoked. At least it was good for the North Carolina economy. Number 7, 5 girls bursting into tears for indeterminate reasons before running into the house, flanked by their girl posses. Most of the girls seemed to move in clusters like pack animals. Number 8, 1 weird old man, definitely not in high school, yet who apparently crashed high school parties. He had long, scraggly beard, sunglasses, and little suspender shorts like Swiss hikers wear. Compared to him, I felt very normal, non-creepy, and age-appropriate. Well, that's usually where I stop, and that's where I look out in the audience and make sure that nobody happens to be wearing little Swiss hiker suspender shorts. And I don't think you guys all look very well dressed today, so I think I'm in the clear. That's the section that I had planned to read. So I suppose I will stop there. And I'm underprepared, but I can. Okay, maybe I can read from the beginning. I never read that part. Okay, I'll read you just a tiny bit from the beginning, and then I feel like my grace in reading tends to be my brevity. So after that, I'll stop while I'm ahead. So I guess I'll just read from the very beginning of the book, just a little brief snippet, and then you'll be free. So this is the beginning. Like most girls in my hometown, I had to face the Miss Livermush pageant when I was around 17 years old. 16 years and 10 months to be exact. Thus, for purposes of anthropological comparison, number one, were my name Janice Garcia Lopez instead of Janice Wills, already I might have been ushered into womanhood through a quinceañera celebration on my 15th birthday. In a flounced white dress, my hair in perfect ringlets, I'd have performed a choreographed dance with my court of attendants and smiled for a gazillion photos snapped by my adoring aunts and female cousins. Number two, were I Jewish around age 13, I might have had a bat mitzvah at which I would have read Hebrew aloud before dancing my feet off at the party held afterward, preferably with Justin Timberlake as the featured entertainment. I hope that's not dated. But I kind of feel like Justin Timberlake is eternal. You know, I feel like I think this is going to be, yeah. When I put that in, I was like, that one's never going out of style. You always want. Number three, were I the son of a noble Japanese samurai family during the Hein era, I don't know, I've never read that part, I've never pronounced it. This year, I would have received my adult clothing and hairstyle during the Ginpuku or Karakari ceremony at the shrine of my patron Kami. Number four, were I a daughter of a Bambuti hunter-gatherer in the Congo, I would have already been married for several years by now, as arranged through a sister exchange, i.e., my husband would have had to offer his sister or other female relative to a male in my family for marriage too, like trading teenage livestock. Instead, I was an early 21st century middle-class Protestant girl of Western European descent living in a small town in the southern region of the United States of America. Nearing the end of my junior year at Melva High School, I had two coming-of-age rituals to look forward to. Number one, the aforementioned Melva's Miss Livermush pageant and corresponding Livermush Festival, where the community celebrates everyone's favorite pork liver-based processed meat by marching 20 young women in ridiculous dresses across the stage, and number two, the accompanying Livermush Festival dance, which holds the place of sociocultural importance that the prom might hold for adolescents in certain other cultures. So if you can make it through that, opening full of lists, then the rest of the book is sort of about Janice being anthropological and sort of coming up with her own coming-of-age ritual, I guess. So I think that's all I've got for you, but I really appreciate you guys coming, and I'm really honored. It's an honor to get to read here with you.